Good afternoon, SJHL fans. It's time for SJHL Weekly. I know it's Wednesday. This probably feels weird for a lot of you. I know it's 1:30. Time zones are changing and things are happening here, but we're live, presented by UPL, of course. Our good friends there, our broadcast sponsors. And I'm your host, Clark Munroe, here at IKS Media Studios. And we have a great show for you today. We got a big weekend of 4 days of games to recap for you, a week to look ahead to, including games one game tonight, I should say. Our Movember update. We have Players of the Week to recap. We're going to shine some light on some underrated players across the league, which we always love to do here. And we're going to be joined by Flin Flon Bombers alumni Matt Egan, of course, one of the biggest storylines of last year, cancer survivor. And we're going to talk to him, of course, with Movember going on. There's a lot of storylines there, and he's doing some big things this year at Minot State University. Before we get too deep into that, I just want to thank all our sponsors, of course, because without them, we wouldn't be here. Cantera Seeds, Borgo, Capital Automall, Sask Lotteries, Chevrolet, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Nutrien, Tourism Saskatchewan, Sask Energy, UPL, SGU, Great Western, SGI. And RBC, thank you to all of our sponsors, and there's a lot of great people involved in those sponsors. So if you're a fan of the SJHL, support them. Get out there and be a part of the action and support those sponsors if you can. Let's bring in a couple guys who I'm happy to support. I don't know, that was a bad segue. Notre Dame Hounds voice, Jamie Neugebauer, Humboldt Broncos voice, Rory McGouran. Boys, we're back. I know it's Wednesday and it probably feels weird, but how was your start to the week so far?
You are always a supportive friend, Clark, which I always appreciate. And speaking of support, thank you to everyone. We will show what the totals are later in the show, but the SJHL's Movember campaign, obviously all the teams jumping involved, and it's incredible to see what the fans have done around, not only the province. I'm sure donations are coming in from everywhere, but, well done, and love to see the support surrounding men's health.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point, Rory. He's absolutely right. We saw the graphic before the show to get a heads up, get ready for the show a little bit, see what they have back there, and we were all like, wow. So get ready to give yourself...
Yeah, we literally all said, wow, and we leaned back in our chairs.
Get ready to give yourself a round of applause, SJHL, because you guys are all doing a wonderful job. And I also, last thing is I want to echo what Rory said. Clark is a great friend.
Oh, geez.
He would give you the shirt off his back, and I am so grateful that he is my co-director, that he's on the show with us. He does a wonderful, wonderful job with a great attitude, cares about the SJ, cares about your kids and your communities and your teams. So we're all blessed to have him.
Well, that's all for me. I'm going to take off. I think I've done my job here today.
There you go.
No. We have a lot to get into. We want to recap some games here. So before we get into that, if you are watching on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter, please make sure you do all of the engagements. Hit the like button, hit the share button, hit retweet, and blow up the comment walls as well, because if you comment throughout the show, there's a good chance we're actually going to read it during the show. So if you're on Facebook and YouTube specifically, make sure you're commenting. Ask us questions if you want. Throw in topics. If we say something wrong, let us know. But yeah, hit us up, and definitely that's a big part of the show is the interaction with you guys. So let's do that. But let's have a look at the score recaps. Again, we're going to have to go all the way back to Friday because this is a Wednesday show. I know it feels like forever ago, but this is the weekend that was. So Estevan pulled off a big win against the Melville Millionaires 5-3. Yorkton had a big win themselves in Battlefords. 7-2. Flin Flon, maybe they're back on track. We'll get into that in the headlines topic here. 6-2 over the top flight Melfort Mustangs. And then Larange 3-1 over Notre Dame to finish off Friday night. On Saturday, Humboldt snuck out a 3-2 shootout victory over Melville. Flin Flon stayed back on that winning track again, 5-2 over Nipawin, a big weekend for Flin Flon. Weyburn shut out Estevan in the first game, I believe, of the Highway 39 rivalry this season, 3-0. Yorkton, they snuck out a win over Battlefords, 5-4 in a shootout, so they won back-to-back games over Battlefords. Notre Dame got revenge on Larange with a 5-2 victory. Then on Sunday, Kindersley doubled up Humboldt 4-2 at home at Interpipeline Arena, which I'm sure we'll get into shortly here as well. And then on Monday, on a Remembrance Day game in Weyburn, very special game. They had some special custom jerseys, special deals for veterans, for tickets. They won at home. The Weyburn Red Wings won at home, pleasing the home crowd with a 4-3 win over their division rival, Melville Millionaires. So, guys, let's just get right into the headlines then, because the top one is those Weyburn Red Wings, the hot wings. The hot wings, boys. They can't be stopped, it seems. The Weyburn Red Wings right now, I've not lost a game now. And is it 14 or 13 or 14?
Yeah,
14.
What's going right? I mean, we've asked this question, I think, a couple of weeks in a row now. Yeah. What's going right?
Well, there's a lot of things going right. Obviously, you have a streak like that. You have to have a lot of things bounce your way, and I know Cody Mapes wouldn't say it otherwise. Funny thing is, too, this is the first Highway 39 rivalry game of the year. So what does that mean? We have 7 more. And one of them will be a SJHL Game of the Month, which I'm very excited about. It was juicy last year in a 3-2 Weyburn win on that night. It's going to be very juicy again. Look, all the details and the habits seem like they're locked in for Weyburn, and, you can give Cody Mapes credit, and that'd be fine. I think more credit is due to the leadership group. The likes of Blake Betson, the likes of Cypress Smith-Davis, the likes of Jerome Maharaj. Like, you look at those Weyburn Red Wings team, fellas, they've got a lot of weapons.
And it was their teddy bear toss.
And their teddy bear toss, yep. There was a picture with Cypress and Daza and Jerome Maharaj and somebody else, and they were all holding teddy bears, and I said to Cypress, I see 5 teddy bears and 3 other guys, and he thought that was a funny thing to say. But you look at the metrics in this game alone, 21-14 were shot blocks for Weyburn, 14-7 great scoring chances. The third period, a lot of people said, it wasn't that hard of a shutout for Daza. For the first 2, I would probably agree with that. In the third period, Estevan really turned on the Jets, and in the third period, the good scoring chances were actually tied, but Daza just, outplayed his opposite number in the night. So you know what? I'm sure Rory for Weyburn, it always means just a little bit more to beat the Estevan Bruins, and they did a good job of it that night.
Always means more. Yeah. So when you're talking about this point streak, right? Because there is one overtime loss in there. Something about it is trending on absurd, right? It just feels weird for some reason. Not that it's because it hasn't been done before. Flin Flon last year had a 17-game point streak. Battleford's the year before had a 36-game point streak. Absolutely crazy. So not because it hasn't been done before. But is it because Weyburn just doesn't seem to get the respect as the best team in the league yet? And I don't know why, because they probably should. Yeah. Is it because, Weyburn hasn't done this in forever, right? They haven't been a top of the league team for as long as I can remember. They're always floating below the playoff or just above that playoff line. Is it because they were 0-4 to start the year, got 3 players in, and all of a sudden they're the best team in the league? Like, how can it change that quickly? It seems that people don't trust it yet. It seems that it's just something's weird around this 14-game point streak, but we need to start trusting it yet. Yeah. Because the Weyburn Red Wings, as you said, the details in their game, they're playing it all so very well. And it goes back to, as much as you value goaltending, as high as a regard as you hold it, if it's the top on your list, you can never overvalue it. Like, you should even value it more. And it's just what Zoll and Mitchell are doing for the Weyburn Red Wings. They have a lot of proponents in this streak, but 5 out of the last 7 games have been 1-goal games. Could those swing the other way? 100% they could, right? They're doing all this with the 10th best power play and the 4th best penalty kill. Yeah. So that's not really helping them. 4th is good for the penalty kill. 10th best power play is not helping them. And they're through this so far with a -24 shot differential. Yeah. So they're not out shooting their opponents on large numbers by every game. Again, it feels weird, but it shouldn't, because they are the best team in the league right now, hands down, I think. But again, you can't overvalue goaltending, and that's where it comes back to for me.
Yeah, well, you talk about 4th best PK in the league. Who's the best penalty killer on the Weyburn Red Wings? Yeah. Angelo Zoll, Daza Mitchell. Okay, you got to give me a 1-word answer then, yes or no. 21-22 Estevan Bruins. 22-23 Battleford North Stars. 23-24 Flin Flon Bombers. 24-25 Weyburn Red Wings?
That's why it's
How is that a yes or a no question?
Is that so?
Yes.
Buy it, sell it, true or false? Do you put them in that category?
Yes or no? That's why it feels so weird for me.
So give me the yes or no.
Because I do not yet.
Okay.
I do not yet. Although they are 3 games away from matching Flin Flon's longest point streak that they had last year.
Right.
3 games away. Yeah. So
16,
should I buy
16 games for Flin Flon.
Should I buy it? Yes. Am I buying it? No, but that's why it's weird. And I can't put my finger on it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? One of my favorite parts about going to the showcase events, and you guys were there with me, but you get to talk to the coaches in a group setting, and sometimes they're a little bit more open to chat about things than they are on maybe a show like this, or if they're talking in a more official setting. And I was talking to Cody Mapes a little bit, and he said, you know what? it's showing that we've been investing in our goaltending over the last several years because they've gotten specific goalie coaches in. They spend a lot of time on their goalies, and now look at Angelo Zoll and Daz Mitchell's numbers are through the roof, and they're winning awards every single week, and it's turning into a bit of a goaltending factory over there in Weyburn. And Cody said, you know what? It's not by accident. We put a lot of investment into our goalies, and it's paying off.
And again, I'm not saying I know these kids, but my perception about the Weyburn Red Wings decor, very underrated. Guys who are not divas, who don't go outside their game over much. Like, I've been a big Josh Carman fan for a while. You guys know that. Dallin Oxelgren, he's really stepped up. We obviously watched Max Chakrabarty a bunch. Jonah Baird, he stepped in and done a job. Like, you go down the Weyburn list, like, are they the superstars of the league? Maybe, maybe not. But, they all do their job. And again, I know Daza and Angelo would be the first to say, like, without those guys, our numbers are nowhere near what they are too. So those guys have done their jobs. That's a big piece of it.
Culture as well. 2 years ago, swept in the first round, 5 games against the Battleford North Stars in the first round. Little step forward last year, going Humboldt to 7, right? Now it's baby steps.
And largely the same group too.
Culture.
Right? A lot of the same group moving.
And it was Nick Nielsen's birthday very recently. And I know he's in the Western Hockey League now, but I'm sure he's smiling.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Nick Nielsen's loving this from afar, for sure. And he's paying attention.
Oh, yeah,
so,
for sure.
Shout out to Nick. Let's bring up the headlines again. We're going to move on to our second topic of the day. The artillery has arrived. Of course, the Bombers are back, boys. The Flin Flon Bombers. I say that very, they're back, but they have won a couple of games, and, they've kind of gotten off their little rut that they were in. Speaking with Mike Reagan again at the showcase last week, he's like, it wasn't in the plans, but we've also had, some adversity. And last year we didn't have this kind of adversity until a lot later in the season. So, in a sense, I think he was kind of saying, I'm a little glad they're going through this adversity, depending on how you look at it. But guys, the Flin Flon Bombers, Nugsy, what do you got?
Well, first of all, that was a great shot from Finley Radloff. I want to just say that first and foremost. Look, again, anybody who was concerned about the Bombers, I don't think any of the three of us were among those. No. We know what the Bombers had on their injured list. We know the Rolodex that Mike Reagan has. To add a Leighton Carruthers, like a 3rd overall pick in the queue. Does that matter? I don't know, whatever. It doesn't. The puck drops and he's just a hockey player. But to be able to bring in that type of a piece, and then you look at their lineup when they're healthy this weekend, is it surprising that they score, 11 goals in 2 games? And one of them against, one of the best structural defensive teams in the league in the Melford Mustangs, the defending champions, by the way. No, it shouldn't surprise us. I'm sure it doesn't surprise you guys. But they can weather a start of a season like this. How big is the hole that they've dug themselves? Whether they can be now a home ice advantage team, still lots of runway. We'll find out. But yeah, no reason to be the tiniest bit surprised for me.
Yeah, Rory?
Yeah, who was really surprised? Right? They're the Flin Flon Bombers.
Well, it is more. My point more, Rory, was that there was some people who were upset up in Flin Flon.
Yeah.
Rory, hold on.
And they're the Flin Flon Bombers. They are going to
Rory,
be good.
I got a really important question for you. Yes or no answer. Flin Flon Bombers. Yes.
There was a yes/no question in my question. You're being facetious.
I'm bugging you.
Don't be facetious.
We have fun here. Yes.
Yes. Here's what we got to do, though. Stop comparing them to last year's team.
Well,
they are not last year's team, but they are a good and a damn good hockey team this year. Every statistical figure that was going through this rut or slump or whatever we want to call it was pointing to them turning it around, right? They were snake bit, but had great shot metrics, 41 shots per game, but 9th in goals per game. That's going to turn around. They had bad or subpar goaltending, but strong defensive metrics, 28.2 shots against per game, 5th, though, above average in goals against per game. So things are going to even its way out. Power play and penalty kill combined are 103.9. You want it over 100. It always has been. It's just they were going through a little bit of adversity, and stop comparing them to last year's team. Was Battleford's the team they were last year as they were 2 years ago? No, of course they weren't. Were they a good hockey team? Of course they were. Yeah. So the Flin Flon Bombers were going to figure this out. They bring in a guy, like you said, like Leighton Carruthers, who has, more major junior experience than I think every junior A player has junior A experience in this league right now, over 230 games. There was no reason to panic. There never was. It was a rut. Everything looked good. It was just not finishing, not clicking for some reason. You don't change a recipe, because one person doesn't like it. You keep it the same.
Yeah, and you think about situations too. If we really want to get nitpicky, I mean, Keith Gruner not being in the lineup.
Kylan Olofsson not in the lineup.
Kylan Olofsson. But Keith Gruner, he is their D zone late in the game, up by one, face-off guy. You take that out, everything shifts around. Carter Anderson not 100%. Does that one little bit of not being 100% mean that he wasn't maybe as confident to finish the chances that he was finishing previously? Probably. But these are tiny, tiny flecks of detail.
Yeah.
I love the tough love from therapist Rory.
Yeah, but now look at Carter Anderson, 10 goals on the season already.
Fine.
He's like right up at the top of the leaderboard again. So that wasn't surprising. And one thing that, Nugsy, you and I pointed out, when was the last time we had SJHL Insider? Was it last week? I can't remember.
It was the day after the showcase.
Yeah, I guess it was last week. But we did point out that Flin Flon has probably had, and then maybe you guys have math on this, I don't know if you can get quick math, but probably had the hardest schedule so far. A majority of their games, albeit at home at the Whitney Forum, but a majority of their games have been like Yorkton, Weyburn, Melfort. I think they played Humboldt in there. So, I mean, they were playing essentially the top 4 or 5 teams in the league over and over and over again. And in fairness to them, maybe they weren't scoring as many goals as they want, but Rory, like you said, their goals against, they were doing fine there. They were top 5. So I mean, I think I said it on SJHL Insider last week, Nugsy, with you. But once that first domino falls and they start rolling, and watch out.
You're right. And
snowball effect.
And you know what? Again, like Mike Reagan would never make an excuse.
No.
Like whether about the schedule, whether about injuries, he's not really an excuse guy. Like, and I have a lot of respect for him for that. I will say we have seen it where the head coach of the team is the head coach of a Hockey Canada event, like a World Junior A Challenge, and they can say, I'm not, trying to split my time or that they don't care as much or whatever. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying it does take a bit of a toll. My point is, I'm not saying there's anything about the first half Bombers. I just think the second half Bombers are going to be a problem.
Yeah, look up. And yeah, like I said, we talked to Mike Reagan at the showcase, and like you said, no excuses.
No, he's not
he basically said that in the
Yeah.
interview we had with him on SJHL Weekly last week, was like, no, I'm not going to make any excuses. It's just been a tough start.
Yeah.
And it is what it is.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say this, though, and I talked about it with assistant coach of the Broncos, Carter Hansen, following, I think it was the Melville game on Friday. It's that if you don't have perfect weekends, if you don't pick up 4 out of a possible 4 points, it's very hard to climb through the standings. If you're getting 2 out of 4. Flin Flon put themselves in you talk about home ice advantage, right? Right now they're in 9th with 17 points. Home ice advantage line right now is 22 points. 5 points separating. Long season, yes, I know that. But 5 points, if you don't get perfect weekends on multiple weekends, it's tough because you're going to see Kindersley, Battleford, Humboldt, Melfort. Everyone moves a bit.
And that's why I kind of said, like, I kind of threw it in there maybe, but I'll make the point a little bit stronger right now, I guess. Home ice advantage for the Bombers in the first round of the playoffs. It's so early to talk about this, but it's not out of the question.
No, God, no.
But
hard.
But you're saying, but to your point, what you just said is they made it hard on themselves.
Correct.
Yeah. And what did I tell you guys? Nick Nielsen is watching.
See, that was a yes or no question.
Yeah, that was a yes or no question.
That one, very easy.
Nailed it. First shot. Nick Nielsen says, thanks for the shout out, boys. I knew he was watching. I knew it. Shout out to Nick again. 2 shout outs now, Nick. Let's move on to the third headline here. And this one is, there's a good boy. There's a good boy. And that's the Yorkton Terriers. They are a bunch of good boys. They're doing so well right now, and they're climbing up the standings right back to where they were early on in the season. And we'll start with Nugsy here. Nugsy, the Yorkton Terriers are firing on all cylinders right now.
You know what, man? Like, I want to talk about Battlefords first here for a second.
Yeah.
Like, they've gotten bad luck lately. Like, I don't know. You don't win and lose games by accident, and fair enough. You look at the scores, and it looks like the Yorkton Terriers walked into the ACC and walked over the Battlefords and North Stars. That is not at all what happened in the game if you watched them. It was 2-1 in the 7-2 game going to the third period. Battlefords had all sorts of chances. And the thing about the Yorkton Terriers, and Rory and I, we were throwing some numbers back and forth before the show started, this Yorkton Terriers team is the most opportunistic team in the SJ. Now, I don't mean that as any sort of insult. They find ways to score. They find ways to win hockey games at the end of the day. Like Clark and I, we watch Tommy Reese really closely. That kid does whatever it takes to win a hockey game for the Yorkton Terriers, whether it's pretty or not. And they got all sorts of guys like that kind of on the back end. Their goalies make saves when they need to make their big save. And they do live and die a little bit by their power play. 26.1% right now. They have jumped over Notre Dame for the first place.
So they're living pretty good right now.
They're pretty good. They're doing fine. They're finding ways to win hockey games. But the Stars have lost 3 of 4 on a little 4-game homestand, but they haven't played badly, really, for any of those 4 games. The 2 Notre Dame games really could have gone either way, and the Bombers let the first one slip and found a way to win the second one, and the Hounds let it slip. And then in this one, they kind of let both games slip. So at the end of the day, your home ice, you should be, winning more than you're losing, and especially when you have the talent that this North Stars team has. So I'm sure they're not thrilled about it, but they're still playing good hockey. Now, on the flip side, you look at some of the numbers. The Yorkton Terriers are only 6th in the league in scoring chances per game. They're under 50% in their Corsi rating. So for the layman's terms, Corsi rating means sort of your general danger. Like, are you in the offensive zone? Are you in good areas? Are you cycling? That kind of a thing. They're under 50% in Corsi rating. So, they generate speed through the neutral zone. They score on their power plays. They get the saves when they want to, when they need to. And they're on long win streaks. So, my bottom line point is, does it always look pretty for the Yorkton Terriers? It doesn't always, from the pure coaching standpoint, and I'm sure Emery and his staff are working hard at that. But this group of Terriers has big-time guts, big-time cojones, and I have a lot of respect for them because they just, by nook or by crook, find ways to win hockey games, albeit with a lot of talent.
Do not get into a track meet with the Yorkton Terriers. That's what that 7-2 victory was. There was a track meet that Battleford's had a ton of scoring opportunity. Yorkton will bury you in a track meet. You need to play the most structured, and I think more than any opponent in the SJHL, the one where you just solely focus on making sure you're making the quick, simple plays in your own zone. You're not getting to a track mate. You're more physical than them. You wear down their defense. It's the Yorkton Terriers. You have to do that against them, or else they will beat you every night. Because I've been saying it for weeks, Newsy, that yes, they're the most opportunistic team in the league. They don't get as many chances as Flin Flon, as Humboldt, but they bury them. And you cannot play a run and gun, live or die game against the Yorkton Terriers. You will not end up on the right side of the coin. And that, yes, their power plays carrying them. If they can get you into that high speed, flooding back and forth style of game, you're in trouble. If you can contain them, if you can frustrate them, right? Don't turn the puck over, right? Simple plays, move it through. You have a chance to beat them because of what all these other numbers are saying, and because of what we've seen, the teams that beat them are able to contain them and frustrate them.
And so it comes back to discipline in a couple of different ways, right, against the Terriers. Discipline in the neutral zone, you have to be crisp, because Emery Olofsson does his pregame keys to the game every game, which I love. It's a great insight. I love coaches being up front and present, and Emery does a wonderful job of it. And he always talks about how the Yorkton Terriers need to generate speed to the neutral zone. What's the other side of that coin? The other side of that coin is the other team mismanages the puck. The other team doesn't handle their forecheck well. Turn pucks over, they're going to burn you. And then the last thing I'll say is, you talk about a power play. Years ago, Rory, in the finals, we had a long chat about Drew Kuzma on the Flin Flon Bombers power play and how he made a lot happen, and he didn't even need to touch the puck for the Flin Flon Bombers because he was kind of this gravitational orbit. And the Estevan Bruins were focusing on him in that open space for the Cole Duperos and the Jaden Merciers and whatever of the world. Now the Yorkton Terriers, a couple players that are decent, Keenan Ingram, whether he's the one taking the one-timer or not, he has that gravitational pull on the Yorkton power play. So you have to circle him. You have to figure out where Keenan Ingram is on this Yorkton Terriers power play, because you're doing that. That does take attention away from others. So yes, he has 5 power plays on goals on the year. That's pretty good. That's not the first, but it's good. But he makes such a big difference because you're thinking about him. And, that's given Yorkton's power play the weapons that they've needed.
Yeah. Shout out to Lauren Olawson, speaking of Emery Olawson, who says, next up mentality, those boys plug and play and everyone is pulling in the same direction. Love those Terriers.
Certainly do.
She's a bit biased.
They've won 7 out of 8 games since the forfeited game. So we mentioned it a couple weeks ago, like, hey, good job on them for not hanging their heads on this and really just getting right back to work. They continue to do that.
Yeah.
7 of 8 games since that news and the 6 forfeited.
Yeah, and 3 of those 6 were wins also. So they've been winning games. That's why they never, in our opinions, and sorry to hopefully not break a fourth wall here, spoiler alert, but in the power rankings that we're part of writing, we never really punished the Yorkton Terriers on the power rankings because on the ice they were still playing very well, and that never really affected them.
Until they hit a slump, they should be near the top.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out to Commissioner Kyle McIntyre, who's tuned in, who says, those mustaches are looking very stylish, gentlemen. Movember. Yeah, we have a Movember update coming up in Neugs and Notes, so stay tuned for that. It's pretty awesome, so stay tuned. And last thing on the Terriers, Emery Olawson was very keen on us saying that Thomas Rees is fast. Remember that?
Yeah.
That conversation. He's like, you can say that he's fast.
I don't care.
Just going to say, Thomas Rees is pretty fast. He's a fast skater.
There's too much put in this day and age on how kids' stride looks. I know these people are smarter than me, so fair enough. But Thomas Rees didn't look slow, and the MJHL team was very, very fast.
Yeah.
And Tommy Rees didn't look out of place at all. So
he looked great.
I mean, just quickly, let's go back to that trade, right? Because we know how much Melfort wanted Clay Sleva last year. And we thought the big piece going back was David Coyle. Yeah. And David Coyle is one heck of a hockey player, but has Thomas Rees, with his play this year, been like, whoa,
it's a dynamite.
Dynamite, right?
But somebody, I forget who mentioned it to me, so I apologize. They said, is Melfort, winning the championship with a Clay Sleva? It's possible.
Not taking that away.
But he made a huge impact on the Melfort.
Yes.
I'm not saying you are. I'm just adding.
It was amazing for Melfort.
Yeah.
But I'm saying on Yorkton side, when we looked at the trade when it happened, we may have thought David Coyle was that.
Yeah, maybe Tommy
this trade's only happening with David Coyle. And David Coyle is a very, very good hockey player.
Yeah.
But the fact that they got Thomas Rees as well, and how good he's playing this year is amazing. Yeah.
Especially coming into the season, what was the biggest question mark for Yorkton?
It worked for Melfort. They won with Sleva, who was like the MVP.
But what a trade. Thomas Rees has filled a big role for the Yorkton Terriers. Let's bring up the headlines one more time. Now, I had an alternate title for this one, but it was, well, they don't worry, be happy.
There's a couple extra
Don't worry, be happy.
I was scrambling.
Now, my title for it, now for those who are in the know and on the up and up in terms of music these days, Rory wasn't. He wasn't too happy about it. Chapel Roan is
take a nap over
one of
here.
the hottest artists right now on the planet, and she has a song called Hot to Go, and I said the Mills and Clips are hot or no. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the Mills and the Clips. HOTORNO, boys. Are they hot or no?
I didn't know who that was.
We don't know. Yeah, now you do, though. Now you do, though. And you know what? That's what this show's all about. We're just increasing knowledge across the board. Millionaires and the Clippers. Let's start with Kindersley.
Okay.
They seem to have got off to a hot start. And then since then, it's like, what are we going to see from these guys on a nightly basis?
Well, you saw them, Rory. Just quickly, like Brett O'Halloran, unreal, man. Good for you. I mean, look, we've talked about this a bunch. I don't want to spend forever on it. And Rory, you called this game, so I'll shut up in a second. But Brett O'Halloran, 10 wins already.
Yeah.
For a kid that just turned 18 on Remembrance Day. So good for him. Go ahead, Rory.
Thank you. Very big congrats to Brett O'Halloran, who has done what no one expected him to do coming in to shore up the goaltending for Kindersley. But if we're just specifically talking about Sunday, not Brett O'Halloran's game. Kindersley knew that Humboldt was coming in, a couple road games on opposite end of the province, and they just dictated the game from start to finish. It was the most simplest, easiest, no pressure being allowed in our own zone, quickly move it up, get it out. Guys like Kyler Smith just making the right pass, working it throughout neutral zone. Humboldt had, I think, 0 scoring opportunities in the house. Like, I don't know the actual number. I didn't see any. The goal by Gabriel Filion, his second, was maybe the only one. His first one came from a swing towards the net on the top of the circle. Kindersley was so good, so simplistic, so defensive, and just, that's how they got to play, because Humboldt couldn't do anything. And even if they looked flat or not, that's the one goal by Filion there. That's not in the scoring area. And, I just got to give props to the Kindersley Clippers for executing a dominating and just simple style of play that neutralized the Humboldt Broncos. Any chance of them trying to rally a comeback was a goal at at a monumental time that sucks momentum back away from the Broncos. Hilbig, didn't have to do much, but just move that puck, hit a body, make sure it gets around the net to your opposite defenseman, change direction on the forecheck, get it up the ice. It was so simple. It was beautiful to watch for the Kindersley Clippers. And that's what I believe that they can continue to do.
Yeah.
But if we're going on to the don't worry, be happy, or should we worry, is that this team has played all of their games at home, right? And I say that with a grain of salt. It's not all of it. They will have played
12 of 13.
They will have played 18 home games by the end of November, like coming up in 17 days. 18 home games already done, meaning they only have 10 home games left throughout December, January, February, and March. 10 home games. That's combined with
they're out of the building
with
for a
20
while.
road games throughout that stretch. So I know we shouldn't worry because I just talked about the Flin Flon Bombers. Don't compare them to last year's teams, but there's no evidence to show that they have completely changed the culture of being able to win on the road, because the last 3 years since COVID, 21-22, they are 18, 58, and 9 on the road. It has not been good. They're 2-3 this year, so a losing record on the road this year. It worries me, their schedule. It doesn't worry me about the way they're playing, what I saw on Sunday. If they can do that on the road, they'll be just fine. But their schedule worries me, and that's why it's a don't worry, be happy, or because they got to prove that they can win on the road that they haven't been doing the last 3 years.
Just a statistical backup to what you said about the game between Humboldt and Kindersley.
Yeah.
Humboldt was outchanced in the home plate 11-5.
There you go.
11 for Kindersley, 5 for Humboldt.
Yeah.
So on that
And
note,
Humboldt
though,
does not get held to 5 chances very, very often.
Not under Barney and not under Klamoski.
Yeah. On that note, going to the other side of this topic, the Melville Millionaires, guys. Again, one of the best teams in the league. They were literally in first place for a stretch.
Yeah.
And now, what is it, 4 in a row that they've lost?
5, maybe.
5 in a row, even.
Potentially.
What are we looking at with Melville right now? Is there concern there? Are we starting to worry? Yeah, they're winless in their last 5 games. What's going on?
Well, okay. First thing is, and I'm sure Doug Johnson's drilling them hard. Like, their penalty kill has not been very good lately. That's a big piece. That 5-3 game that they lost against Estevan, there was 5 power play goals in that game. Neither team was killing a penalty, to be honest, but that's also the Estevan Bruins, is if they're not scoring on the power play right now, they're not really scoring. So that's part of it pretty much all year, to be honest, but that's another topic for another time. Yeah, look, I always talk about the fact that what Brett O'Halloran's done for Kindersley is amazing. He's a young goalie. Melville felt they needed an older goalie. They brought in Clark Munroe. He got hurt. So who they have in net now, they have very talented young guys, Nick Jeanette and Luke Brunin, who they got from the Western League. But, those guys are learning. I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be elite. But they're young, and that is a lot to put on those guys. So, I spoke to Rain Hodge about what's going on, how it's been in Melville since he brought in. There's a little teaser for Nugs and Notes, Rain Hodge being brought in by Melville. And he said, hey, we're playing well. The room is still good. Just not getting the bounces, really. Losing games they felt like they should win. You know what? If there's a coach in this league you trust to figure it out, on the practice ice and whatnot, Doug Johnson's a good bet.
Yeah. We like a lot of aspects with Melville, right? We have since the start of the year. We've liked their returning forwards, their high punch guys that can get the puck in the net that are still, obviously the league leader in Caden Jury. We've liked the returning defensemen. It seems like all the defensemen on the Melville Millionaires have experience going back to at least last year, right? 5 out of 6 of them do. And we've liked their goaltenders, except that's had a little bit of a pivot, and now there's 2 young guys, but as you mentioned, very, very good goaltenders in Melville. The thing that concerns me is that we've seen Melville's best game. We've seen maybe not their best game, right? I don't want to say worst, because everyone can always, be better. Everyone can always be worse. But is there a farther discrepancy in any other team in the league from their A+ to their F? Right? I would say outside of Humboldt, and that's only because I've seen all 18 of Humboldt's games. Mm-hmm. I've seen their best, I've seen their worst. I can really do a comparison there. They are far between. And is Melville kind of in that same aspect? Also, what concerns me is that 11 out of their last 16 goals have come on special teams. 10 of those on the power play, 1 of those shorthanded. So they only have 5 even strength goals over the last 6 games. And that comes down to effort level. It comes down to puck battle intensity. If that's not active enough, if they are not winning puck battles, if they're not taking the physical play to go and get the puck, starting with the puck and finishing plays, then they can fall flat. You can't depend on your power play, like you said, Nugsy, scoring 10 out of your 16 goals over the last 6 games, 5 of which they've lost. Yeah. You need to have the effort. You need to have the puck battle. You need to be willing to take the hit, to go get the puck, to set up your teammate. And right now, even strength, that's what is the concerning thing. They're not doing that right now.
Yeah, well, they've gotten Rothke back healthy. They brought Zacharias just recently back from the Dub. They brought in Rain Hodge. So they do have a little bit more depth up front. I'm not ready to be worried about Melville until those guys have more time together to gel and to play. You know, good players can play on the power play, whip it around, make things happen.
They need to do more of your strength.
But, you know, so my point is, even strength, they'll get that cohesion. They've got enough guys that know what they're doing. I'm not worried about Melville.
Yeah, and like you said, Nugsy, I think a big thing is those goalies and let those goalies cook a little bit, and they'll come out the other side better.
They're young bucks.
Let's move on to the final headline here, I think, guys, unless you have anything else to add.
Nope.
Odds and ends. Now, there's a pretty big topic that's kind of floating around that we thought it would be a disservice to the fan base here if we didn't talk about it, and of course, that is the whole NCAA junior hockey ruling that came down recently and has kind of, I'm going to say, shifted a lot of things. It's created a little bit of worry, a little bit of curiosity about what's going to happen and how it's going to affect this league and other leagues and leagues above and leagues below and what's going to happen there. Nugsy, do you have some tidbits on that you kind of wanted to bring up?
Yeah, I mean, just very, very, very quickly, because I really don't want to keep our guest waiting too long. But just the BCHL, because there's no oversight at all for the BCHL, they can literally do whatever they want at any time as long as their board of governors agrees. They upped their 20-year-old limit to 7 in response to the CHL being welcoming in NCAA players, or other way around. Sorry, NCAA welcoming in CHL players, and you know it's just this sort of result of that. Yeah, Kyle Kelsey from the Estevan Bruins is gone. He's the only one we know so far. I don't know. I'm not overly bothered about it. It's not my job to recruit players, so I understand if your job is to recruit players, you are overly bothered. That's fine. That's your business. But I'm not overly concerned.
No, I think curiosity is the best word, because we won't really see, full fallout for, I think, for a couple of years, right? We don't really know the large or little extent of what the impact will be on our league specifically from what comes to it. You see a guy go to the BCHL, whatever. You see him go to the Dub. Well, obviously that's going to push a guy out here, and maybe he goes there, and then a guy pushed out there goes there, right? But what do we want for people that we care about? What do you want for your kids? What do you want for your kids? What do I want for my partner's kids, right? We want access for them. We want the door to not be shut on them before they even get a chance to put their foot in and prove who they are. Yeah. The SJHL will always offer that. Yeah. And it will offer that to as high of a quality person you are, or someone that still needs to prove themselves. You want to see them have access, and that's what you try to get for them. You want to see them get into the door, and then after that, it's up to them, right? There's no free passes. You might fall down, you might bruise your elbow, you might get back up, you might be perfect, you might absolutely jump off the page. But as long as the access is there, and as long as the door is open to promote the players like we all do, the team's social medias are off the hand, the broadcasters do exceptional work, the team bases build a foundation, the billets are there to help support the players, and we give them the access. Yeah. The SJHL gives you the access. The door is open to prove yourself that you can be a hockey player, be a good person. You may fall down, but you'll get back up and you'll get that opportunity that you're looking for. That's all we want. Yeah. So this is not going to take anything away from that. It might change a player playing 1 year in the SJ and going here, but then another player will come down, and he, who didn't think he was good enough for there, will find his spot here.
Look at Aiden Hutchinson. Look at Ryan Duguay. Like, they are regulars and doing great in D1. People are like, oh, they couldn't cut it in the AJ, blah, blah, blah. And then they were terrific here. Now they're terrific in D1. Yeah. So who cares? Like, I honestly don't care. A lot of people love to post on social media, wring their hands. I have heard from kids in the OJHL, I've heard kids in the CCHL, I've heard from kids in the AJHL, and the NAL, you name it. Like, nobody does for their kids what our league does first of all, the communities, the way that they care. Like, I don't feel like we need to defend the SJHL. I don't feel insecure at all. I'm sure you guys don't either from this. But we do such unique things as a league for these kids. And the kids that see that and appreciate it will succeed and thrive through that. And the ones that don't care about any of that, they'll move on and they'll make their own choices. And if you have a good program, and this is the last thing I'll say, or as you said, kids happy where they are, got a good program, they have access to the eyeballs, then they'll stay and they'll be happy. And I'm sure, in Weyburn and Humboldt and Flin Flon, all these places, those kids are like, life is good. Why would I want to go somewhere else?
And I think the biggest thing for me in all of this, just to echo, Rory, some of what you said, and Jamie also kind of what you said was, I see is this fear of, we're going to lose players. We're going to lose. The number that have moved on from the SJ in result of any of these moves is fairly small. There's a couple. Some of them have come back already. And you know what? Let's use Kyle Kelsey for an example. Comes here, does really well for a couple, about a month with Estevan. But now look, Benjamin Polhill. He's a great young goaltender. He's still there, and he's going to take the reins. And he's got a great opportunity now. And it's the league of opportunity. I always say that. And somebody's going to step up and take the spot.
Even if they do play 1 year and then go and continue to improve their game somewhere else, they were always an SJHL, right? Like Matthew Perkins was an NHL draft pick. He played in the SJHL. That is still important, right? If they go somewhere else, boo-hoo, right? If that ends up being a bad decision because they're not getting the showcase that they deserve and that they need, then that's the thought that they need to make. If they go somewhere else and they excel their career, then that is what we have done for them. That is good.
Exactly.
That's what we're doing here. We're trying to help kids.
And the biggest thing I'll say is, we live in Canada. We're not going to run out of good hockey players.
No.
There's tons.
It'll be perfect.
So we'll be okay. Let's take a break. Nugsy, we're going to push Nugs and Notes till after the interview, if that's cool.
Sounds good,
because we can't miss Nugs and Notes. We got the little animated Nugsy back. So we're not going to do that yet. We're going to push it till after. After the break, Flin Flon Bombers alumni and Minot State University Beavers forward Matt Egan joins us. Stay tuned.
Your new truck trade-up has arrived at Capital GMC. Volume pricing is back. As inventory levels go up, prices come way down. And right now, we have over 250 brand new GMC Sierras to choose from. Lease a Crew Cab 4x4 Pro Edition for only $269 bi-weekly plus tax with $0 down. Or work with our finance experts to get the best available rates. Plus, GM certified pre-owned inventory is back too. Shop over 150 vehicles, all makes, all models. It's finally time for your new truck trade-up, only at Capital GMC.
Each year, the SCSA issues over 10,000 training certificates to the construction professionals who build our province. That's the population of Martinsville. Learn more at scsaonline.ca.
Saskatchewan's far north is where the land itself inspires. It's the beauty and power of wilderness, the solitude of a place far removed from what you might know. When this landscape surrounds you, it's like nothing else. Come and let it awaken you, energize you. Come and create your story in our Northern Lights and Waterways. Saskatchewan.
In a year where Amazon sold its first book, Alanis topped the charts, and the Frappuccino became cool, we were there. Trusted by the Saskatchewan construction industry since 1995. Learn more at scsaonline.ca.
As a student, things can pile up fast. Ouch. But the RBC Student Banking Bundle makes back to school easier with up to $275 in value. That's a whole pile of takeout.
Introducing SaskTel Student Saving Tips. Tip number 138. You could build your own pallet furniture.
So you're living on your own. You gotta save money by building furniture with pallets.
Or get Infinite 150 for only $50 a month with SaskTel student deals.
Increase your home comfort with high-efficiency natural gas equipment. Sask Energy offers rebates so you can lower your energy use and save money. For a list of rebates, contact a participating network member or visit saskenergy.com.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
All right, welcome back inside the IKS Media Studios. Clark with Rory and Jamie here, and we're doing something we don't normally do. Is we're on this show specifically. We're going to bring in an alumni, and it's a very special month, obviously, with Movember going on. And this person has a lot of experience in the recent last year or so with a lot of that sentimentality. So let's bring him in now. Flin Flon Bombers alumni Matt Egan, of course, with the Minot State University Beavers now. Matt, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Obviously, let's start with where you're at right now, the Minot State University Beavers. You're getting some great ice time there. You're doing some big things. Tell us about your season so far.
Yeah, it's been good so far. We've been off to a good start. I think we're 10-1-1 right now. So, yeah, a little bit of highs and lows at the start, but we're starting to come together as a team, and it's been great so far.
Yeah, Matt, thanks so much for joining us. And, you know, the importance of men's health is what Movember highlights, right? It's what, you know, a lot of community and a lot of people rallied around you and your story last year. Now, I know it has been shared, but we might have some new viewers this year that have kids that are playing the SJ that really aren't knowledgeable about your story and what you had to battle through last year. So if you are okay with just kind of sharing it to as much as you want to, just to keep our listeners, you know, up to date, and then we can kind of go from there.
Yeah, sure. I mean, so yeah, last year, around Christmas time, I was diagnosed with testicular cancer, and yeah, I got the surgery for it right away. And whatever, fast forward to now, or this past summer, I had to go back for, you know, blood work and checkups, whatever, and there's indications of it spreading to my stomach and lungs. So that resulted with me starting chemotherapy over the summer, and yeah, it was pretty tough, but you know, I'm all clear now. I'm officially clear of it. So yeah, that's kind of it.
Yeah, I just want to continue off that. I just want to say, obviously, we're all extremely proud of you. My best friend had testicular cancer as well when I was, 10, 15 years ago. Same deal, had the surgery. It spread to his lymph node, went through chemo, and same as you, the same path that, you know, he beat it as well. So very, very, you know, you're proud, because it's not easy, right? And I know you had a big support system around you. So, you know, just who were some of those people that helped you, or what were some of the things that, you know, just kept you positive when, you know, some days just, it seems tough?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people. I mean, I just starting off with my family, you know, they were my main supporters throughout this whole kind of commotion and whatever. And then, you know, my teammates here, my teammates last year in Flin Flon, you know, Rags and Gags, were texting me, just checking in on me a lot. And, you know, just so many people, like, I can't, you know, name all of them off the top of my head, but, you know, I'm just extremely grateful for all the support.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, you mentioned that support, and, you know, a big piece of Movember is trying to encourage men to, you know, not ignore going to the doctor, not ignore talking about what's going on in their lives, you know, trying to sort of end that stigma that men are supposed to just power through and not, you know, get things taken care of. I guess just talk about maybe that journey of being like, man, I don't think something's right here. And, you know, being a 20-year-old playing hockey. You're trying to stay in the lineup. Obviously, you had such a great team last year there in Flin Flon. You wanted to stay in the lineup, keep your role and whatever. And it seemed like it would have been maybe a bit of a risk for you to really address this and say, hey, I need to put my season on hold here for a bit. I guess just talk about, that process for you.
Yeah, so it actually started in August of last year. I felt something unusual, and it was 2 days before I was going to head up to Flin Flon. So I spoke up right away about it, and I went to the doctors, and they said, when are you available for a CT scan and or not CT scan, an ultrasound? And I said Christmas time, because I'm like, there shouldn't be anything wrong with me. And so yeah, that's kind of how it started. I went up to Flin Flon, and Christmas time I went for that ultrasound, and then surprisingly they saw the tumor. So I'm just grateful that I spoke up right away about it.
And that's what, more people need to do. And that's what Movember's for. It's why we're interviewing you. It's why everyone's proud of you. What did it feel like, though, in your first game back? And this was February 2nd, I believe. I know it had to have been emotional for you. First game back in Flin Flon, and not only did you come back to the ice and play, which was incredible enough, you had 2 goals and 2 assists in that game. So that's crazy, man. Was that did it feel like your first hockey game ever? Or how did you just bottle up those emotions?
Yeah, it was definitely an emotional time. Just first game back, and just the support from the fans there, it's crazy. And to even have my parents in the building too, just to have that kind of a night was very special. And to do it with the group we had last year, it made it even more awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And to kind of continue that into this year, I kind of want to talk about that support, because with the Minot State Beavers, they are obviously recruiting the SJHL very closely. I believe you have 8 SJHL alum on your team. And so guys, maybe a Will Dyke, for example, who was in Melville, who was at least familiar with your situation that way, coming right in together, and guys, the Jerome brothers, who obviously I know very well and whatnot, kind of paying attention to the SJ. That must have been at least a little bit of a, I don't know if comfort factor or what, but coming into that room, knowing that people kind of had a little bit of a taste of what you've been through, that must have been a big help as a freshman there down in Minot.
Yeah, for sure. I showed up here a couple weeks late just because of the treatments I was doing, and the guys were texting me at least twice a week, 3 times a week maybe. And once I got here, we kind of, guys who I'm familiar with in the SJ that were here, we kind of had a little smirk at each other, and got to know each other pretty well. So they're all great guys now, and we're all good now, and we put the past behind us.
Yeah, it always seems like in hockey, as soon as you put the same sweater on, a lot of things in the past kind of go away. So that makes a lot of sense. Matt, you mentioned your treatment over the summer. How did that affect your training regiment over the summer? And did you feel coming into the season that you were as good as you could be, or how did that affect your summer?
Oh, it affected it a lot.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to do anything. I was tired 24/7. I could sleep for, I was sleeping 12 to 16 hours a day. And, there's this thing, people who know of someone or whatever have been through chemo, there's this thing called chemo brain, and you just feel so foggy and you don't feel yourself. So I was able to, get on the ice a couple times this summer and, go to the gym here and there, but it was tough. And even showing up here at the start, my conditioning was brutal, and I wasn't really myself. But, halfway through last month was when I really started to notice, I'm starting to feel myself now, and get that energy back and jump in my step, and just little things like that. And, now I feel like I'm not 100%, pretty close to 100% to how I was if I were training all summer.
Yeah, for sure. And then, just the last one from me, obviously we having you on, and it's awesome to have you on. I know you and your family have been such a supporter of the things that Rory and I have done over the years in the league. So we really appreciate you and your whole family. It's always nice when people are paying attention, so we appreciate that. But I guess you get some attention from, in this month because of what you've been through. I guess just maybe talk about, I saw you did a few other articles and interviews. Somebody sent one to me. I guess just talk about, having kind of a voice and having an impact, being kind of asked and hoped and wanted to speak about men's health, specifically at this time. And maybe if you've given, some advice to another hockey player that's going through something, just talk about kind of what Movember has become to mean for you right now.
Yeah, I think ultimately just not being afraid to speak up. And, at first when this whole thing kind of started, I was nervous to talk about it because I didn't want to seem like I want the spotlight on me. I want all this attention. Like that wasn't, the reason at all. I just wanted to show others that like it's okay to speak about it and don't be afraid and things like that. So
Matt, I know you've watched the show in years past, so it's the same segment. If you haven't seen it this year, boys, we can hit the bumper for Matt.
There it is.
All right, I got a little variety of questions here. Some revolve around mental health, some revolve around men's health, and some revolve around just some fun things. So let's start at the top here. Who is the strongest person that you know in terms of someone that you just look at and you know that that's a person, no matter what the obstacle is in front of him, he is going to take it or she is going to take it head on?
It's a tough question, but I think I just got to go with my parents on that one.
You had one other multi-goal game last season with the Flin Flon Bombers outside of your amazing return. Do you remember who it was against?
Was it Laurent?
Yes, it was Laurent. Yes, it was 1-for-1 on the trivia. One of my former not teammates, but players that I called for, Reed Arnold, also with Minot State. What's it like playing with Reed so far since you've got there?
Great guy. Love him a lot. He's a great leader. I've gone to room with him a couple times on the road. So, yeah, nothing but great things to say about him.
One more trivia question. Who assisted your last SJHL goal ever? This would have been in the playoffs.
Riley Niven and Kylan Olofsson.
2 for 2.
Whoa.
Crushed it.
Nice.
No way.
Love it.
Obviously, you got to be a student as well in university. What subject are you absolutely crushing? And what subject are you like, ooh, I might need a tutor in this one?
I'm crushing American Sign Language right now.
Yes.
And history, I'm doing pretty good, but American history is
it's a big one.
If you ever need help, hey, I have a history degree. I love
Nugsie's a huge history guy. He would be glad to help you.
Let me know.
I got 2 more for you. Who is the teammate? And it could be through any time of your hockey career. Since we're talking about men's health, just some guy that you could always go to, even before, your battle, that you just, even if you're struggling on the ice, that you're just, this is the guy that I can go to with something I'm struggling with. He's always going to be there to help.
I got to go with Jacob Bachler. Just from, him and I were both there in Flin Flon from day one. And, we were best friends throughout, our time there. And so whenever he needed something, he knew he could call me, or if I needed something, I knew I could call him. So
I love it. And the last one here, since it is Movember, who's the best mustache that you've ever played with? Guy that could really grow one.
I'll go with Adam McNutt or Anthony Piccinino.
Oh, yeah. He's got a good one.
I remember last year when we asked Mike Reagan that question, he said Piccinino. Yeah, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
First of all, and I know Clark's going to probably echo these words, but I know you said that you didn't, at first not want to talk about these things and have the spotlight be on you, but you're doing such a service to everyone that's listening that may be struggling with something or not want to talk about something or even scared to go get something checked. So thank you. We appreciate you very much, and obviously we wish you the best. But
yeah. Well, echo that, as Rory said. But one piece of advice I'll give you, Matt, is you're crushing American Sign Language. Don't forget it like I did. I took American Sign Language in my first year of university too, and I cannot remember any of it. And I really wish at this point, this is like 15 years ago now, I really wish I would have remembered it. So I know you're crushing it now, but really memorize it because it's really useful down the road. You never know when you're going to need it.
That's right.
All right, there you go. Matt, thanks so much for joining us. Good luck the rest of the way this season, and we can't wait to keep up with you down the road.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Go Bombers.
There you go. Go Bombers. The Bombers are rolling.
He loves the Bombers.
He loves the
The
Bombers.
Egans just love the Bombers.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we got a couple more things to get to, including our underrated players segment, so stay tuned until after the break.
The Chevrolet Silverado 1500. Advanced power and capability to tackle the long hauls. Style to make a statement on the streets. Visit ChevroletOffers.ca to learn more.
Each year, the SCSA issues over 10,000 training certificates to the construction professionals who build our province. That is the same population as Weyburn. Learn more at scsaonline.ca.
When you buy a lottery ticket in Saskatchewan, your money really goes a long way. More than 12,000 sport, culture, and recreation groups receive funding from Sask Lotteries every year. Everyone wins.
My name is Kyle McIntyre, and I'm the commissioner of the SJHL. We have 12 teams spread out all over this amazing province. 12 teams that hit the road for combined 324 season games. We take hockey players, and we make them better. We make them better at hockey and better at life. That's what the SJHL is all about. We have a great league, we have great teams, great ownership, the best fans, the best partners, and the best sponsors.
Sask Energy Network members are the best choice for natural gas solutions for your home or business. With comprehensive services like heating equipment maintenance, appliance installation, and in-store financing, they have natural gas solutions that go beyond heating to bring you the comfort, efficiency, and reliability of natural gas, both indoors and outdoors, all year long. For whole home natural gas solutions, network members burn brighter.
Introducing SaskTel Student Saving Tips. Tip number 236. You could dye your own hair. Or you could save up to $20 a month on a new wireless plan with SaskTel Student Deals.
Enjoying what's around you. That's what it's all about. Farm to table, in season, locally foraged, look out the window and that's exactly what you'll see on your plate. It's the kind of experience that you'll compare everything else to for years to come. And it's so close, you can almost taste it. Indulge in our unlimited lakes and parkland. Saskatchewan.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
All right, welcome back for our third and final segment here of SJHL Weekly. We're going to rattle through the players of the week because it's Wednesday and we release them on Monday, but we do have to recognize these guys. So let's get to it now. The SGU MVP of the week last week. Now this has an error on it. It was only 2 games played, so it was 4 points in 2 games. Dustin Renas of the Yorkton Terriers.
4 points in 4 games. That's
4 points. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, 4 points in 2 games. That was pretty solid. Plus, he had the game-winning goal at the showcase in game number 2. So we just have to give him a shout out for that, of course, as well. The Borgo forward of the week. It's Marko Djordjevic from the Notre Dame Hounds. This guy is a face-off hound, literally. Again, this is also 2 games played, 4 points, 1 goal, 3 assists. So great week there by Marko, and I heard he was super pumped about it as well. So congrats, Marko. The Super U defenseman of the week, Boston Harkness of the Melville Millionaires. I know they had a rough week, but he still had a great couple of games. And look at those minutes, boys. Averaged 27 minutes per game. This guy is a workhorse. Let's move on to the SaskTel goalie of the week. We'll get Ethan Farrow out there. I know the IKS Crusaders are pretty pumped about this one. 2 starts, 2 wins, back-to-back wins in Battlefords. He played back-to-back nights. And yeah, goalless. Yeah, 2.88 goals against average on the week. So great week there for Ethan Farrow. The IKS Media Rookie of the Week, Brady Holtfolk, of the Humboldt Broncos. This guy keeps racking up awards this season for Humboldt. 1 start, 1 win. Great game over the Melville Millionaires. Big win for Humboldt there. And finally, Cantera Seeds Saskatchewan Player of the Week. It's Braden Nienaber. Nienaber. I knew I was going to say that wrong.
That's fine.
And he had a great game, and he's had a really nice little season going on there, and he had goals in 3 straight games over the last couple of weeks. So congrats to all the players of the week. Like I said, we announced it on Monday, but we had to make sure we brought it up. Let's go Nugs and Notes now, because I know we missed it in the first segment. Nugsy, let's do it. It's Nugs and Notes.
Can't reach the guy.
Oh, I thought you were on
the bongo
I thought you were
cam.
on the DJ.
No, I think we were bongo cam.
I was trying to rub the guy's head, but it's okay. I'll be quick. I'll be trying to be quick. A couple roster moves. Cole Robertson, he physically has been in Estevan for a while. Just couldn't play because there was an issue with Hockey Alberta, et cetera, et cetera. He is now an Estevan Bruin, officially from the Camrose Kodiaks, but he spent the year in the Null, so he's a big forward that should help the Estevan Bruins. Rain Hodge, signed by Melville as a free agent, in fact, out of Smiths Falls in the CCHL. So he's back, former Larange and Estevan forward. The Belfort Mustangs acquired Will Monroe from Swan Valley.
Not related.
In the Manitoba League. No relation, I guess. I think he spells his name differently.
Different last name.
Former Western Hockey Leaguer as well. Sending Jake Jacobo and a PDF the other way. And just before the show started, fellas, Weyburn acquiring the rights to Braden Sinclair. Very nice pickup. Former Battleford's North Star, 10 points in 15 games for Cowichan Valley in the BCHL so far this year. You can check out Sask Finest, the latest edition. I took last week's off because of the showcase, but it's back. I have Joelle Heidemann, the terrific team medic for the Notre Dame Hounds. Really, really incredible woman. Real treat for me to work with her every day that we get to. And so her article on her is on the SJHL website. The World U17 Challenge just finished in Sarnia, Ontario. Canada White beat Canada Red 3-1. Sweden beat the USA in the bronze. Adam Valentini of the Chicago Steel led the tournament with a bunch of points. Daxon Rudolph also there. Prince Albert Raiders defenseman, terrific. And now Movember. Let's look at some of the mustaches from around the league. There you go, fellas. The Estevan Bruins with a nice little put together. Good job there, Marty. Whoever put it together. You see the Nipawin Hawks. Those guys are, they're working on it.
They're working on it.
Good time. Big time kudos for the effort there. And there's a couple more. I know Turner McIntyre there in the bottom right and Spencer Borsa, so the Notre Dame Hounds in the top left. But there's a couple more. And then there's, I think, one more. There you go, Landon Stromey.
Yeah, I think Landon Stromey's got the
who is
title
a terrific.
So
but I've always joked with Rory that even when Landon Stromey was an 18-year-old rookie, he was a 35-year-old father of 4. So no surprise there in Aiden Knutson. And there's the staff.
Look at us.
Of course, we're a bunch of grown men facing off against teenagers. So we should be murdering them.
I know Kelly looks like an Italian pizza oven maker, but he cheated and started before.
Yeah,
so.
I did. I shaved on November 1st. So did Kyle McIntyre.
Yeah.
So there you go.
By the way, Kelly, if you're making any pizza ovens, give me one. I need a
And
pizza
look at that. Look at the scoreboard. People are doing wonderful work. Almost 10K.
That's crazy.
Jacob Faith, marketing director over in the corner. How about that, Jacob? Any thoughts? Big thumbs up.
Big thumbs up. Way
Almost $10,000 raised for Movember Men's Health. Way to go, everybody out there. Of course, the Weyburn Red Wings leading and the Humboldt Broncos in behind. So great work, everybody. We really appreciate it, and we're extremely proud of you. You can sign up, scan that QR code, or get in touch with your team's marketing person. I know they'll have a link for you too to specifically donate to your team. Yeah, great job, everybody.
Now, I will say this before we move on from Movember. That was it for News and Notes?
Yeah.
Can we bring up that team leaderboard of the Movember one more time really quick? You'll notice that there's 10 squares. There's 12 teams in the SJHL staff. That makes 13. You'll notice that 3 teams don't show up on this list. I'm just going to little bit of a call out here for Flin Flon, Yorkton, and Kindersley. Come on. Now you can bring it back in the studio because I'm going to address them directly. Come on, Flin Flon, Yorkton, and Kindersley. What are you doing? Let's go. Let's go.
Hey, Anthony Piccinino is on the Flin Flon Bombers. By himself, his mustache is worth at least $1,000. You can get to $1,000 just for Piccinino up there.
I'm hoping that they're just
challenging you.
I'm hoping they're doing some stuff behind the scenes and they're just going to slap a whole bunch on there
Matt
right
Egan
at
is
the
a
end.
beast. Yes,
But
still got 17 days.
Just a little bit of a call out there for Flin Flon, Yorkton, and Kindersley because I'm just not seeing them on that list. So I don't know. Figure it out, I guess. But yeah, anyways, it is Movember. Obviously, we're joking. It's all for a good cause. We're all on the same team here. We're all part of the same challenge. And again, we're really close to 10,000. So let's get that 10,000. How quickly can we get 10,000?
Yeah.
We're not even halfway through the month.
Can we do it tomorrow? We can do it tomorrow.
Can we do it tomorrow? Can we do it today? But yeah, anyways, if you're listening and you haven't donated yet, all you have to do, again, can we put up the QR code? If you're watching on a computer screen, put your phone over that QR code. And you can go right to the team, right to the league challenge, essentially, that takes you to. You can pick your team that you want to donate to if you want your team to win or if you want a different team to move up in the standings. You can donate to the SJHL staff, which is myself, Jacob, Faith, Kelly, Bryce, Kyle McIntyre. Who am I missing? There was one other one on that one. Sorry, who am I missing? I can't remember. Rory's on Humboldt, obviously. Nugsy, I guess are you on staff or
I'm on Notre Dame?
He's on Notre Dame, so don't give him any money.
Hey, you should give me money, and I do want to mention tomorrow.
Don't give me the money.
Tomorrow, Pringles is giving $25 for every $50 donation.
There you
tomorrow, very specifically. So get that going. And if you do want to give to the Notre Dame Hounds, a player on the team's parents have promised to match whatever.
Okay, give money to Nugsy.
Give money to the Notre Dame Hounds, and you'll get doubled it.
Let's do it.
Or anyone.
Or anybody.
And it's still lovely.
Yeah, it's all good. Could we quickly hit the highlight of the week?
Oh, yes, the highlight of the week. There are actually two.
Two beautiful goals.
One from Weyburn and one from Melville, so let's hit those now.
In front of Rocky, he gets 2 bangs at it. Knocked down there by Romelaire. Drury, dangerous there. One-timer, and Rothke scores.
Kennedy, his shot goes off the skate of Chakrabarty, far side. Ethan DK over to Jerome Maharaj. Maharaj to Chakrabarty. Maharaj, saucer, Chakrabarty, shot, scores! Max Chakrabarty takes the feed from Jerome Maharaj.
Look at that. I'm going to say the passing plays were on display. And shout out to Stephen Wilson. I recognize that voice. Hi, Stephen, for the Weyburn Red Wings, doing play-by-play there in that second highlight pack. Great passes on those 2 plays to make those goals happen on the one-timers. Look at that saucer pass, Max Chakrabarty on the one-timer on the saucer pass. Those are not easy to do,
Got a line flat.
Yeah, those are not easy to do. So congrats and huge shout out, by the way, to Tourism Saskatchewan, who is back in full force with our highlight of the week. So shout out to them. All right, let's do it. We have a fun little segment coming up here. We picked our most underrated players across the league, we think. Now, we love in this league, yes, of course, we love to give a lot of praise and kudos to those who have huge performances and MVPs of the week and everything. But there's also a lot of guys who deserve some praise and some spotlights as well. And we went across, myself, Rory, and Nugsy, of course, 3 forwards, 2 defensemen, and a goalie that we thought, let's give a little bit of extra love to. Rory, let's start with your roster because it's on the left on the graphic.
It's fitting for November, too. November, right? Get out, talk about men's health, something that we don't usually talk about enough. Well, these players don't get usually talked about enough. So we did that, underrated teams. Okay, so I went with Kai Banoche at one point. And Nugsy would have to stat check this if he still does. Led the SJHL in face-off percentage. He's second on the Humboldt Broncos in points. He wasn't invited to the Warman Showcase. He wasn't on any of our fantasy teams. And my team is kind of built around guys that were overshadowed by teammates and don't get accolade because we often talk about Jacob Streetsy, Boris Kaufman, Connor Miller, Filion, Fouquet. List goes on. No one's talking about Kai Banoche, who has points in all but just 4 games this season, and at one point led the SJHL in faceoff percentage, which is a huge stat to have. Braden Neugebauer came out of nowhere this season. He was cut from an SJHL team last year, traded to a different one. Now he leads the Battleford's North Stars in goal.
Which team cut him, Rory?
Well, the Humble Broncos. We just traded him to the North Stars. Now he leads the North Stars in goals with 9 goals on the season and still gets overshadowed by guys like Rylan Williams, Jackson Allen, Jordan Grill, and Nikita Ivashenko. Not a lot of people talking about Braden Neugebauer yet. You really should be. Kylan Olofsson, Flin Flon Bombers were 4-3-1 with him. Prior to this 2-game little winning streak, they were 2-6 without him this season. Yeah. He never gets talked about on a loaded Bombers team over the last 3 seasons. Yet he's so important to team success, to wearing down defense, and to building energy. He's one of my favorite players to watch in the SJHL.
Probably best known for assisting Matt Egan's final goal in the SJHL. Probably best known for
secondary assist with Riley Niven. On the blue line, Tristan Sorrow, he's kind of the nuclear option in Humboldt. You got to keep your head up. You got to be aware not to do anything against one of his teammates when he's on the ice, because he'll stand up for his teammates. Solid defensive defenseman, kills penalties, and he's overshadowed again by years of defensemen on the Broncos. It's now his 3rd year with the team. And Kyler Smith, when we talk about Kindersley, we kind of talk about them as a whole, but we don't talk about, just like their game on Sunday, the effective, simple, smart, quick feet, quick puck moving with 123 games of SJHL experience. Always knows the right thing to do is Kyler Smith. I was going to say a lot about Spencer Borsos, but I think my time is up. And since I see Nugsy also has him in there, I will leave Spencer Borsos for Nugsy, because this guy, not that he's underrated in terms of talked about, because Nugsy talks about him all the time, but his playing numbers are absurd. So go ahead, Nugsy.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start from the bottom then.
There you go. Start from the bottom.
Now we're here. Yeah, Spencer, last 6 games really had finally got a night off in Kindersley in that back-to-back with the school day game there in Kindersley, and Caden Perron played, and Spencer took 1 game off, and then since then, 6 games in a row. He's been absolutely brilliant. Brilliant. Grows a great mustache as well. It does not hurt. And yeah, it leads the league by a minute.
Definitely bonus points for the mustache.
So there you go. And he makes every save, and he is a terrific young man.
He's on pace right now to play 55 of 58 games.
Yeah.
Just to let you know.
Yeah, and you know what?
53 of 56.
And for not playing that 1 game, he was furious. And that's what you want. You want that. I remember joking with Scott Barney about Race Ramsey, and I was like, who wears the pants in the relationship, you, Scott? Is it you or Race Ramsey? And he's like, well, it's not about that, but I forget what he said. But something about the lines of Race would be furious if he ever wasn't in the net for the Broncos that year. Can we get the graphic back up again quickly? Stop. I know Bryce is getting mad at us. Let's keep going here. Josh
He's just mixing it up.
I know. Josh Carman and Tyler Palin on the back end. I've talked about Josh Carman a lot. He learned a lot with Battlefords last year with some of the great defensemen that they had. What a big pickup for Weyburn in that acquisition for Elijah Anderson, of course, part of the trade last year. He's been so steady on that pairing just in general with Alan Oxelgren on top of the Weyburn blue line. And Tyler Palin, fellas, 7 goals, 7 assists for the Yorkton Terriers. I'm not sure how many times we've said his name on the show.
Not a lot.
So, good for you, Tyler. His offensive instincts to jump into the play are impressive. A lot of his goals are just being in the right place at the right time, but he's a defenseman, and he's rarely in trouble. So good kudos to him, and from the hockey hotbed of Florida. And then, just quickly up front, is Logan Belton underrated? I don't know, but he's got tons of points. Won the championship last year with Melfort, had a lot of time up on that top line last year with the Hutchinsons and the Slivas, and whoever was hurt, he would fill in. Now he's a top line guy in Melfort. Good for him. Marko Djordjevic, you talk about Spencer Borsos being on pace for playing a ton of minutes. Marko Djordjevic has taken way more face-offs than anybody else in the league, and 1 bunch more as well. And who leads the league in power play goals? Does anybody know?
That guy.
Luke Hogan. 7 power play goals of his 9. When the SFN Bruins power play is going, he's the reason.
If you would have picked someone that wasn't on your underrated team, it would have been a huge curveball. So I assumed it was Luke Hogan.
Yeah, right. It is
Keenan Ingram.
It is Luke Hogan. It's not Keenan Ingram.
It's not Keenan Ingram.
Yeah, it's Luke Hogan.
Yeah, so I'm going to echo that sentiment with Luke Hogan on my roster there, just because, again, he's having a huge season, and he's from Arizona. I just think that's really cool that he's coming in from Arizona, and he's got 9 goals, and I think he's got 14 points in his last 11 games. And Estevan needed a guy like that to step up, and Luke Hogan's done a great job. And again, he hasn't won any individual accolades yet, but I think we might see some if he keeps this up. Jeff Hammond leads the league in points per game, guys, and he's only played 8 games because he just can't he can't get enough luck to stay in the lineup here. But I think he's going to get healthy, and we're going to see him put up some massive point numbers again. More points per game than Caden Drury, Jacob Stritchie, Jaron Denway, Ethan Decay, Jerome Maharaj. We're talking about the stars of the league. He's got more points per game than any of them. Anthony Campbell, I just was looking through some numbers here for Battlefords, and we talked so much the last couple of years about who's going to replace Kian Bell and who's going to replace Braden Sinclair and who's going to replace, insert all these names here for Battlefords. Anthony Campbell's got a point per game so far, and again, he's just coming in fresh too. So I think a guy that we don't talk about yet, but I think we will later on in the season. In talking to Cody Mapes at the showcase, he mentioned that he thinks Jonah Beard could be one of the best players in the league, best defenseman in the league in not too far off distant future. And I just think that, the depth of the Weyburn Red Wings blue line, Nugsy, you mentioned Josh Carman. You could name almost any of their guys. They're having solid seasons. I think Jonah Beard's a guy we'll keep our eyes on going forward. Vito Biondo III, mostly because he has the best name in the league. I just love saying this guy's name. I've mentioned it lots that I love this guy's name, but he's a 20-year-old defenseman now. He's been in the league for a couple of years, and I think he's providing a lot of value to a young Nipawin Hawks defensive group. And down the road, depending on what goes on with Nipawin, I think he might be a good fit for somebody who's pushing for a good playoff run, who needs a 20-year-old defenseman on the blue line. Keep an eye out for that.
Very possible.
And finally, Logan Falk, going from that kind of tandem goalie in Kindersley last year, we weren't really sure where he was going to end up. Killer Kaminsky swept in there, scooped him up, I should say, and he's given him the reins there with Graham Brown, of course, in Larange. But I think Logan Falk has been a guy who's solid for his first couple years with Kindersley, and now he's showing that he can take the reins as well as a 20-year-old in Larange, and we'll see how good it goes through the rest of the season, but he's off to a pretty solid start. So.
I'll jump in. Rory was wondering about the face-off stats.
Yeah.
So I will say, and Kai Banoche is a very good face-off man. I think Boris Kaufman and there's one other Humboldt Bronco that takes more face-offs than he does. But anyways,
depends if on the left or right side they'll switch.
But I believe he's third on the Broncos in faceoffs taken. Is Banoche. So there, it's how many faceoffs you take. He's almost taken 200. He is still second in the league behind Keith Gruner. But
Keith's
he's
now number one.
in mid-60s in terms of
You should have done the trivia thing
impressive.
now because I picked Keith as number one back then, and I was wrong.
Yeah, mid-60s percentile for face-offs. That's really impressive.
We just spoiled next week's trivia segment.
But it'll all change by the time.
Might not be Keith anymore.
Let's have a look at the upcoming week now that we've gotten through that. There is a game tonight in Melfort. The Estevan Bruins head to the Melfort Mustangs, so that should be a solid game. And then on Friday, we got 5 more. Melville takes on Humboldt again. They've been playing a couple of times recently. Battlefords in Weyburn is going to be a good one on Friday night in Weyburn. Flin Flon takes on Kindersley at Inter Pipeline Arena. Estevan is going to be in Larange over the weekend, and Nipawin takes on the Melfort Mustangs. And then on Saturday, another 5 games. Nipawin heads to Humboldt. Battlefords is again in Weyburn, taking on the Red Wings. Flin Flon and Kindersley again. Estevan and Larange again. And then the Notre Dame Hounds head to Melfort to take on the Mustangs. Guys, is there anything you're looking forward to this week?
It's a big week for Estevan.
Yes.
A huge week, especially since 2 of the games are against Larange. Estevan's in 10th with a 5-7-1 record, 12 points. Larange has played 6 more games than Estevan.
Yeah, lots.
And they're 7 points ahead. But this is the chance to strike. We talk about perfect weekends. If Larange wins both of them, now Estevan's looking at that 8th place playoff spot being 10 to 11 points away.
Yeah.
Whereas if Estevan wins both of them, the 8th place is like 4 points away. Based off, a couple of the teams will shuffle.
With games in hand.
With games in hand.
Yeah.
It's a huge week for the Estevan Bruins up north, Melfort, Larange.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why I moved the 2 Laranges.
They're playing in the same spot.
So
they're not changing locations.
Big week for I like Estevan Larange is a great game as well. I'm looking forward to that weekend.
That'll be a doozy. You mentioned how many games Kindersley's played at home. They're in, I believe, a 9-game homestand, 12 of 13. Guess what? That is running out. Time is running low for Kindersley on this wonderful homestand. Again, they play good hockey and they deserve what they've gotten, but it'll be going on the road soon. So you got to make hay while it's due. Well, guess who's coming into town? It's the Flin Flon Bombers, who are brand new, spanking as healthy as they've been all year. Kylan Olofsson has not been as healthy as he would have hoped, I'm sure, all year. But other than that, the Bombers are quite healthy. So Flin Flon with a pair in Kindersley. Get your tickets for the Inter Pipeline Arena. That will be a lot of fun.
Put it on the poster. The Flin Flon Bombers are brand new spanking as healthy as they've been all season.
English is not my first or second or third language. I don't really have any language.
We've discussed that. It's history. You're a history guy.
We have fun here. I think the big one for me, don't worry, I'm bugging you. You're fine. The big one I'm thinking of is the North Stars and Red Wings. I think that's going to be a solid couple of games
with
there.
Jacob
in Weyburn.
Faith.
And Jacob Faith's going to be there. Sorry to out you, Jacob, but
he loves it.
He loves it. Anyways, it's going to be a great weekend. Lots of good action coming up. So make sure you get your tickets now. And if you can't make it, get your subscription to Flow Hockey or follow us on all of our social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, X is Twitter, TikTok, or YouTube. Subscribe to YouTube if you haven't already. I haven't looked recently, but we were like 10 away from 1,500. So if you're watching and you're like, oh shoot, I haven't subscribed yet, please go do that.
And go to the doctors if you need.
Yes. Yeah,
Talk about your health.
One more shout out for November.
Talk about your health and go get checked out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know what? Let's put up the Movember QR code one more time. Again, it's a big cause for us here, and obviously our challenge is going great. Hit that QR code right now. Donate to one of the teams or the SJHL staff page. We're closing in on $10,000 raised as a league, and we're like less than halfway through the month. So we're doing a great job. All thanks to you, the viewer and the fan. So let's keep that rolling. One more shout out to our sponsors as well. Cantera Seeds, Borgo, Capital Automall, Sask Lotteries, Chevrolet, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Nutrien, Tourism Saskatchewan, Sask Energy, UPL, SGEU, Great Western, SGI, and RBC. A lot of letters in there, guys, but we love it. So there's no more shows this week. This was it. Obviously, with no show on Monday, we moved it to Wednesday. Tomorrow's Thursday. Not enough time in between. So we're going to do no Thursday show this week. Next week will be regular broadcasting. We'll be back on regular programming. So again, there's game tonight. There's 10 games over Friday and Saturday, guys. It's going to be a great weekend, so make sure you get out to the rinks and enjoy the hockey, everyone. We'll see you next week.